the ever-changing weather around the world, ever-diverse terrain and roads across the world. With Kumho Tyre that has conquered all, there is no road you cannot go. Go with Kumho. Kumho Tyre.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome once again to the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans Championship on your Thursday evening. Tonight, we trip to a track that the V8 supercars have competed at internationally, and indeed, the exact same layout. My name is Scotty Rankin, and alongside Brady Bourne, who's actually gone digging through the records to tell us what exactly happened at this track through those years, including what the lap record was. And a big shout out as usual to Dan Yeaman behind the scenes of the cameras. We're going to have a few little question marks over a few people in qualifying first, Brady, before we dive into the history books of what's going on. But primarily, Talyancic has made the decision to start from the rear of the field. Said he wasn't confident. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't get caught up in something if it's a mile and a half down the track. It's very, very difficult for that to happen. Do you think that's a wise decision so close to the end of the season?
First off, thank you for the introduction, Scott. And yeah, very questionable decisions there from Michael Talyancic to electing to start from the rear of the field in this 35-odd strong field. And also Greg Favell, I've noticed, has not set a lap time in qualifying. Whether that's been planned or not, I'm not too sure. So it's going to be very interesting to see how those drivers fare during this event today.
Yeah, so it's going to be another barnstorming race. V8 veterans so far this season really failed to deliver. And that is where we are in the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, as Daniel Ricciardo loves to say. And, well, this is it. That's a lot of spinning on the way down the end. I'm dizzy just looking at it. A few of the drivers will be a little bit dizzy with the layout that we're using here tonight. Not a lot of time where they're actually spent with the steering wheel straight here tonight, Brady. I know you've done a few laps here as well of the 17-corner layout. But she's a tight, technical, tricky one. But normally you'd have a big breath coming down that long back straight at the Circuit of the Americas. Not so with the West layout. No,
certainly not. It's elbows up for sure. And the really only break you get is from the last corner to the first corner. And even then you could be battling people side by side up the steep ascent into turn one. But the section between 6 to 9 is the non-usual layout that fans would know from the F1 circuit. And like you mentioned earlier, the supercars did race here back in 2013. And I can say that they're about 2.5, 3 seconds a lap quicker here on the iRacing service compared to back then.
So technological improvements to the cars, technological improvements to the grip, and maybe a little bit extra grip that's been applied to the circuit throughout that period of time as well. We'll keep our eyes on things up and down the field, but championship standings-wise, well, he's had almost one hand up until this point, but he now has one hand effectively on that trophy. Michael Talyancic has just put together a season of note. There's been a couple wins along the way, sure, but he's failed. He's never really failed to score a bag of points. That's the difference, as he sits more than 110 points clear atop the pile. David Kirby, again, another driver that maybe hasn't had a standout performance in terms of his season, but the performances have been so consistent. He's right there in P2. And Kenneth Latter in P3 has shown a lot of pace at different stages throughout the series. Again, another driver failing to maybe consistently put a nice finish together. So there's been a lot of that up and down. It's probably been one of the weirdest championships I've seen in a good while, to be honest with you, Brady, because we've got definitely one clear guy at the top of the pile. But have a look at the list of these names. Anyone can finish in the top 10 before this season is out.
Between second to fifth, Kirby and Van der Kraant's only 34 points separating second and fifth. So it's only a very tight battle all the way through the top 5 there. Then if you have a look from Christian Smart, who doesn't appear to be here tonight, then you go down to Flavel, Cairns, Visma, and Friend rounding out the top 10. All those guys can jump up as well, and when the drop rounds come into play as well after tonight, with only one more round after tonight here at Circuit of the Americas, it's only going to shape out really interesting, pretty much from 2nd through to 10th. Even the guys behind 10th as well can maybe sneak in to that top 10.
So, anyone's game to play for at this point in time. 48 laps and 200 kilometers, the race distance here tonight. Very likely going to be a one-stopper. Michael Quain, I'm sure, it's Cairns that's normally throwing us, Damien Cairns throwing us for a loop. He's normally the guy that'll be going, you know what, I'll pit twice. I don't like looking after tyres. They gave me 3 sets of tyres. I may as well burn through them all. I don't expect to see that be the case. A lot of runoff areas here, though, at Circuit of the Americas. So that tends to lower the chance of a safety car. But at the same time, there's realistically, for a lot of these corners, even though they're very, very wide, there's only really one way around them quickly. So are we expecting a little bit of rubbing as racing tonight?
I certainly think that will be the case tonight. It's a very tight circuit, even though it is very wide. A lot of the corners' radiuses are very tight, so I think we will see a little bit of action on the first lap. I think once they spread out just a little bit, I think it'll be okay, but I certainly expect to see a little bit of action at least on the first lap here tonight, Scott.
And this is actually one of the most reminiscent tracks I've driven in terms of sim, just something I've ridden on a motocross bike in real life. For anyone that's lived in sort of northern New South Wales and raced motocross, you might know of a little old town in the centre of the state known as Inverell. Inverell motocross track. Its first turn used to be nearly identical to the layout here at Coda. Start down the bottom, run all the way up to a crest at the top of the hill, turn left, and then down and over the crest. So I've actually experienced something similar to this in real life. It's actually a hell of a climb. That's it right there. All the run, the whole way up the hill to turn number 1. Then you turn, and then you come back down it yet again. Now, in motocross, there's a few jumps there after the left-hander. Not going to be the case for a V8 supercars. Not the only time there's really a jump, maybe back at Bathurst, maybe Le Mans. There's a couple bumps there that sets you into the air. But anyway, we're into our gridding timer now, and probably time to walk through our qualifying results. Brady, you got the top 10 for us?
Johnny Latham put on a superb effort in qualifying, nearly over 3 tons clear of the field. He'll start from pole position, sharing the front row with Anthony Visma. Scott Gimble and Matt Vanderkraan will share row 2 with Jeff Thomas and Ken Latta. They will share row number 3, 5, and 6. Then Michael Stewart, Chad Vigor will be 7 and 8. Then rounding out the top 10 will be Chad Lewis and Stuart Hall. Then on row 6 will be Damien Gans and Jamie McKnight.
Yeah, we'll go a little bit further on back to find Craig Friend, who's in his 50th start tonight, and Jamie McKnight as well is also going to be showing up in our milestone feed later on. You'll be surprised by the number that's next to his name with number of starts. Travis Hunt off alongside of him. Matty Parker and Dean Flavel a little bit further back. Daniel Hall, last round's winner, won on his 50th V8 Veterans start. So congratulations to Daniel Hall that did manage to pick up that race win last time out. Greg Sharp off alongside of him. Moving one spot further back, we're going to find Jason Fewens and Michael Quain off of the top 20 before we hit Stephen Kennedy and Peter van der Kraan. David Kirby sitting in P2 in the championship will be wanting to finish inside the top 10 if he's going to have a shot come the end of the season. Scott McCune off alongside of him.
The remainder of the field, Darren Crosby and Tim Nicol will share 25 and 26. Rod Hollis and Halal Cesar 27th and 28th, and running out the top 30 will be Chris Miller and Rick Vigor. Then we will have Robert Griffiths and Shane Evans 31st and 32nd, and then the guys who haven't qualified, we saying right down the back, will be Michael Taliange, who's the championship leader, also Brenton O'Brien, Greg Favell, Andrew Hoffman and Shane Patterson with the remaining drivers, and we got a few safety car guys in the mix there as well. So looks like 37 cars on the grid here tonight, Scott. Certainly going to be a very interesting run to turn 1. We've seen how tight the entry is, how tight the exit is. I certainly think there might just be a little bit of contact, a little bit of rubbing up into turn 1 there on the first lap.
What do you reckon? 4, 5, 6 wide at turn 1? How many deep are we going to be going there, Brady?
I think we'll go for the middle. We'll go 5 wide. I'm a little bit ambitious, but we'll see how we go on that prediction.
Righto, John Latham's got control of the field. He's going to be leading us off on the rundown. We've got about 15 seconds before those lights will start to come on. Ladies and gentlemen, there is only one more round left after tonight's conclusion. Who is going to stand second place on the pile? How far ahead will Talyancic be after drop rounds come into it? Lots of questions here to answer from the Circuit of the Americas. Here comes the revs of the V8 supercars. Listen to the Fords, listen to the Holdens, listen to the tires squeal as they get set to roll. Starter held them for a very long time there, and I can tell you, Talyancic's got a reasonable getaway from the back end of the field. There's somebody that's got a mile of a start way back there that's got through. I see 4 wide, I do see 5 wide just there for half a moment, but they all get through. It's John Latham's race as he leads us off of turn number 1. Immediately settling in behind him is Bismarck. Gamble will grab 3 away, but have a look at the pile. Try and come down here. 2 wide still. Couple looking 3 wide in the background. There was nearly a moment of 4 wide. Way deep in the pack, out around 20th place. They settle themselves down. They get to the S's, and then at the end of this first chicane, they head left in chaos in the middle of the pack. The Penrite car spun around, managed to hang on to things. Greg Sharp's night not going well early.
Unfortunate there for Greg Sharp to be turned around through the S's section. Not much he could have done there. Contact with one of the ERT cars. I think it might have been Dan Hall. But terrific start there for John Latham, capitalising on his pole position. He got some really good pace in qualifying. And he certainly got away as we have more contact with Bayers. That's Shane Evans and Talyancic, the championship leader. Also Rod Hollis in the background.
Yeah, Talyancic managed to get his way through, so there is no contact on board for him, but there was a huge dogpile that he had to find his way through and look for the open lane, and luckily nothing's going on there, although the field might be begging for something to happen to Talyancic at this point in the season to give them even a sniff of a championship hope. Well, they're going to line them back up as they come out of the final corner. Latham let them off the line. Latham will lead them through, but have a look at them all single-filed out, looking to charge forward. And 35 cars that made the grid here tonight will survive through lap 1, albeit one of them just tangling off the end of the pack at this point in time, which I think is going to be Greg Sharp was the guy that was way down at the tail end of the field, that Penrite entry.
Greg Sharp will be running out of the field, and interestingly enough, Greg Favell, one of the championship hopefuls coming into this season, he has not started the race, so unfortunately, Greg Favell, he won't be within a shout tonight as we go to Michael Stewart on board with him in P12 at the 919 hypersonic race machine. He's pressuring Travis Hunt in front of him in the 32 machine, and Michael Stewart runs a little bit wide, runs a little bit deep there, and Damien Cairns in right behind him will be certainly within a shout here if any mistakes happen for Michael Stewart.
Yeah, I'd like to point out as well, something that we haven't covered so far here in this evening's proceedings at this point in time as you watch Michael Stewart work that wheel. Look at the handiwork and look at how deep into the corner he's going to have a look. The VR goggles are on, and that's what you can see. What is displayed on his TV is effectively what he's going to be getting through those VR goggles, albeit with some three-dimensional technology built in. He'll grab a few more gears, try and settle himself down into the second last corner on the lap. Doing a reasonable job early on is the 919 entry of Michael Stewart. Fell outside of the top 10 on that opening lap, but you've got to set yourself up for success here at COTA. To keep the thing clean, keep it pointing in the right direction. And as we've seen so many times this season, Brady, it's tyre wear, it's tyre-centric. This track, but maybe the setup's got something extra for him tonight.
Certainly could be the case there as we see Michael Stewart working the reel really hard there in behind Travis Hunt, and we have seen play out so many times this season where tyre wear and strategy has become a big factor, and with the pit window estimated to be between lap 11 to lap 26, that's a 15 lap window for your pit stop tonight based off our prediction, or my predictions, based on the fuel numbers that we got given. So certainly it's going to make up a lot of strategy in tonight's one-stop race. Certainly going to make it really interesting. Some guys might pit early, try and get out of the traffic and suffer later on, or guys might run a little bit longer and save some fresher tyres for the end of the race.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tyres so handy here tonight, particularly remember what we talked about in the pre-show, all of those corners. Oh, suddenly Stewart's going to make contact with the rear end of Travis Hunt just ahead of him, so clearly faster at that apex. Got the car turning. Have a look at the tyres, absolutely loading up through this section of the track as well from Michael Stewart. You can hear the tyres squeal. So those tyres are absolutely being punished at the front end. You reckon it's going to be front end limited? I get the feeling it's going to be a lot understeery, which is not something you commonly say about a V8 supercar.
Yeah, I think the fronts will be hurting just a little bit around this track. A lot of force being put through those front tyres, especially around Circuit of the Americas. So I think drivers will have to be a little bit cautious, might struggle with front end grip and start to struggle with understeer throughout the start of this stint. We're only on lap 4 at the moment, still early doors in this race, and certainly Michael Stewart certainly struggling just a little bit. He's dropped off Travis Hunt. Damien Ken's starting to close in just a little bit, and quick update on Michael Talentich. He's P28 at the moment, so he's gained a few spots. Currently seen behind Darren Crosby. He was really impressive last week, so Tally's got his work cut out for him back there.
Yeah, I can tell you, Race Control just handed down a post-race penalty to Brenton O'Brien for the incidents on lap 1. So he will be the recipient of the points penalties, which means that he was the causing factor in the series of bingles that we did end up seeing. Have a look at the line selection, the over and unders, and there's an opportunity for somebody to go searching on the outside. It's Talyancic that was getting aggressive, puts him on the outside here, tries to hang it around there if he can just keep enough priority heading down to the left-hander down here. He's down the inside from Talyancic, still going to hang around there. Job's not done yet. The next corner coming up is a triple right-hander, so he's going to be on the outside again. He's going head-to-head in the battle for 28th position. Will he eventually come out on top? No, car has finally cleared him, and Talyancic has gone a long way. Now back down the inside, looking for the spot, fighting it heavily, and there is the unsteadiness on that he was talking about, the lack of trust, he said, in the car, I think, tonight. That throttle application, they're going to have to be so careful. And remember, 48 laps to distance, ladies and gentlemen. One pit stop, the expected strategy. You're probably looking at best case scenario. You're looking at 24 laps on these tyres, I would say, for most of these guys. You don't want to be heating those tyres up early, Brady.
You certainly don't. You don't want to wear them out early because you're just going to struggle for the rest of this stint. And one thing about this track, there's multiple places you can run 2 and 3 wide. And we just seen a perfect case and scenario. Crosby and Talyancic running 2 wide for multiple corners at a time. Makes it just a little bit trickier to make a move as Talyancic gets in the rear bumper of Crosby. But it's checking up ahead from Kirby and Chris Miller. So Talyancic might have to just sit back here and wait for this chaos to unfold. As Kirby has looked down the inside. Can't get anything done. Talyancic will go around the outside of Darren Crosby. He'll get the move done into the next corner. Kirby will have a look at Chris Miller in front. It is all happening back in. This is for about 24th to 28th already. So these guys are racing really hard, really early. Chris Miller, big contact down the inside. Pushes Kirby wide. Talyancic will sit back and wait for another opportunity. He won't get anything done. And then Crosby, he'll see his nose underrides again. So this is incredible racing on lap 5. And this is for P25.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it has kicked off and continued to go head-to-head as they head down to finish lap number 5, and lap number 6, start lap number 5 at this point in time. No, that is correct. Finishing lap number 5, starting lap number 6 as they come up and across. It's the leaders that are already on lap number 6, ladies and gentlemen, and a long, long way to go. Effectively, a quarter of this first stint now in the books, and these guys duking it out like it's the last few laps of the race. Track position seems to be what they want to be all after. Have a look at the line decision on the run to turn number 1. Everyone fanning out, looking to fend, looking to go over under. Everyone's searching for that little bit of advantage, Brady, and cars are just going everywhere at the moment looking for any advantage.
You see guys like Talyancic just search around for anything he can get at the moment. But like I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit more difficult to overtake around this track. There's not too many opportunities. As we see David Kirby try and take an opportunity down the inside of Stephen Kennedy, and he won't get anything done that time by. But like I said, there's so many places you can run 2 and 3 wide on their circuit. It really makes it more difficult to get a move done. So you really got to commit, or you really got to have a massive pace advantage to get something done around this place. And we even seen Talyancic, the best of them this season, the championship leader, even he's struggling to get through past 25th, 26th position as he has a little look down the inside of Chris Miller through the triple rides, and he will just sit back and wait for the perfect opportunity to arise.
And in the meantime, everyone up ahead of them is just starting to disappear a little bit in the sunset because this battle pack is just continuing to score. Mate, I don't care about the lead of the race. Can you give me 24th onwards? What is it, Bathurst that we're talking about that? We just watched like the mid-pack struggles. We're just like, oh, okay, race is over up front. Oh, just give me this every week.
Certainly the battle packs that are out the field have been sensational all season in the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans Championship. Really, whether you're looking at the front, you're looking in the back of the top 5, the top 10, the top 20, the top 30. The list goes on and on. There's always action. There's always something happening in the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans. That's what's been so good about it. And it's been so good to broadcast with you, Scott, every single week except one. But yeah, there's certainly some fantastic battles all the way throughout. It makes it really exciting for us and the viewers at home.
And that is what the battle looks like up in front. It seems to be about 7.5 tenths of a second is the stabilizing margin at these early stages. And I do want to say a shout out to Mark Duggan. He's been battling away all week on the beaches of Thailand is where he's battling. So not out in the race circuit. Although Kodo, it's in Texas. Texas isn't actually really all that dry. I started to find out the more I talk to people. You're more likely going to see deserts over on the west coast, I think, of the USA. Either way, anyway, shout out to Mark Duggan tuning in from Thailand. Far out. That's an effort to tune in. And I think that says a lot about the league as a whole, Brady, is that the drivers, they go away on holidays and they're like, you know what? I'm still tuning in. I've got to get my Thursday night V8 fix.
It's certainly awesome to see that those guys, especially tuning in, cheering on their mates and their teammates as well, even from afar. And special shout out to a few guys as well who have a few little graphics set up for tonight. And for their 50th race start tonight in the V8 Veterans, Craig Friend, currently in P number 15. So shout out to Craig Friend, the 696. He's always been in contention for a top 5, top 10 result all season long. And the 696 Craig Friend, 50th race start in the V8 Veterans Championship. So congratulations, Craig, if you're watching this back, and hopefully it's a good race for you.
Even if he's watching it live, give us a wiggle, give us a flash on the headlights, anything. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Technical difficulties avoided and averted, and we're back to you with live pictures. Apologies for that one. Turns out Dan has power issues. I also have power issues. They're not the same kind, I don't think. I've got to be a lead commentator, Brady. You feel me? You want to be the lead commentator? My job. It's mine. I'm the lead commentator. You can't have it.
I'll happily leave it to you, Scott. You're doing a very fine job. I'm happy just to assist her again.
Righto, ladies and gentlemen. Well, after all of the hullabaloo, we are now into lap number 15 of tonight's proceedings. Started lap 16 for our leaders. And the pit stop strategy has already started playing itself out. First car to pit was Greg Sharp, who's running around in 34th. He was towards the tail end of the pack, has now moved his way forwards. And we'll see if he's managed to pull away. He has managed to put about a second and a half on the leaders since his pit stop. So he is starting to pull away from those leaders. Chris Miller, Tim Nichols, Stuart Hall, all through the pit lane. And John Latham as well, race leader, pitted from the lead, was not going to be undercut here tonight. Wanted to get firmly out and away from everyone.
Certainly, I think it might have been the right move there from John Latham to pit early, try and get a bit of clear track. Unfortunately for him, he was stuck battling Rod Hollis a little bit on his out lap, so fortunately that might affect Latham just a little bit. He did have about a second and a half lead when he did enter the pit, so be interesting to see now when Visma, Gamble, Ladder, the guys that were firmly right behind him in the battle for the lead, certainly have to see when they now take their first and only pit stop of this race.
Righto, ladies and gentlemen, so Visma will lead the race at this point in time. Estimated cars to go through to about lap 22, lap 23, somewhere in the low to mid 20s is their expected maximum fuel range, although the pit window would open around about lap 11. So all the drivers have pit very, very early on. They will be able to safely make it to the end. They're looking to the undercut to make themselves some time up, and I believe Greg Sharp has indeed done so. Scott McCune just jumped on the radio to race control, so driver the 77 has definitely had something go awry. He's lost a ton of spots coming out of the last corner. That's him on the right-hand side of screen right there, and he was 2 or 3 spots further up the road.
I've just had a quick look at that, Scott, and looks like Scott has whipped the car off in the background. It's Dan Hall, last week's winner, has had a big off on the exit of turn 1, done that all on his own. No, actually, contact with Tally Ansage, so that might put Tally Ansage in a little bit of trouble there, which is something he does not want from the championship lead.
Yeah, I think Tally Ansage as well, ladies and gentlemen, probably going with a conservative strategy. He's probably actually saving a lot more than you think. He's going to stick it out a very, very long time, and I believe that was actually, we're just starting to see John Latham, the race leader, when he pits, was just in behind Dan Hall, so that is going to be a battle. Obviously, Latham does not want to get held up at any stretch of the imagination. I'm starting to think this traffic scenario, it's playing itself into the guys who didn't pit early. It doesn't look like the undercut may be as effective as John Latham thought it might be.
The strategy behind doing the undercut certainly works if you can have a clear track, and that's something John Latham does not have at the moment. He is stuck behind Dan Hall, who just had a spin earlier on the lap, so his holes be really hot. You can see his car wiggling around the rear end. This is certainly not helping John Latham's chances to try and stay out in front of Visma, Gamble, and Latter. He's certainly really struggling to get through these back markers, and unfortunately, I think it will cost him in the end result. But we will have to see where those guys pop out in probably just a few laps' time.
Well, the other side of the coin, I'm actually thinking here, Brady, is I believe Latham was actually coming up on lap traffic, so and the leaders are in and around the first little wisps of lap traffic. But there's a whole host of clear road. If they can get through 1 or 2 cars, it is clear road on the track at the moment, and I can tell you for certain that John Latham lost about 1.5 seconds to the race leaders with all of that went on in the most recent lap in behind Dan Hall and everything that unfolded. So this strategy from John Latham, this is risk. Big, big risk. And he has to get out there and he has to make it work right now, because in a couple laps time, everyone else is going to be coming through the pit lane. If he doesn't make some time, then he is going to be in big trouble.
None of the top 10 have pitted coming through this time by, so certainly Latham's certainly the only real front runner that has decided to pit. So big strategy call from the race lead, and we'll have to see. Hopefully it pans out for him and he gets a half decent result, but I do believe after getting held up in that traffic just a little bit, that Visma, Gamble and Ladder will jump him in their random pit stops.
Yeah, so I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're following along at home, if you are a John Latham fan, sits 24th on track at the moment. There is nothing but traffic in front of it. Huge snake. That's Rick Bigger. He's now crawling all over the back. Oh, he's going to try and get the toe, get the run, and get down the inside on the run down to turn number 1. Dan Hall's down through the lane. Matty Parker's in the lane. Stop cycle has commenced. Where is John Latham going to pop out? That is the question on everyone's lips.
John Latham certainly trying to push through the field. He just got past Vigor there for 23rd, and none of the front guys still have not elected to come into the lane. Visma slowly closing in to the back of Greg Sharp, who's the last car on the lead lap. So it'll be interesting to see when Visma pulls the trigger on this pit stop. We're about to start lap number 20. I did predict it'll be about 24 to 25 max fuel range for these cars, with the starting fuel tank capacity of 80 litres, as it looks like Matty Parker and Dan Hall, they'll come out of the pits after 7 their pit stop. They'll go 1 lap down, but obviously the leaders are still yet to pit, so they will get their lap back very shortly as Matty Parker actually gets a drive-through penalty for his troubles as well. So, fortunately, taking that pit stop... Matty Parker has got a drive-through penalty, so unfortunately Matty Parker will have to go through the lane once again.
Yeah, so compounding that issue. And there's an issue with one of the cars as well. Car 51, safety car has been called. The Hoff is round and the engine is off. So something major has happened from Andrew Hoffman. I think he's gone pop on a downshift. So this is similar to what we saw earlier in the season from Greg Gravel. Yeah, he's blown an engine with a money shift. The engine blew on the way into that corner.
Very unfortunate there for Andrew Hoffman with this perfect timing for the race leaders. They can take their pit stop now, and hopefully it won't hurt them too much. It should aid them a little bit. We will go to the Logitech G replay and try and pick up on the debut KMP SimSports 51 machine. On that downshift, Scott, like you predicted, and we'll see it. Yep, bang. Soon, lock the rear brakes, engine gone, and unfortunately race over there for Andrew Hoffman.
Yep, so nothing more that he can really do once he's shifted into that position. That is going to throw chaos to the wind as the entire lead pack ops to come down through the lane, except for the drivers that have to try and scrub their lap back. There's something going on. Chaos down at the first turn. I think what's happened is the safety car has picked up somebody else. No, so the safety car's picked up a group of cars, and that group of cars was not actually the race leaders. This is the cars that have already pitted, and they were close to going a lap down at that point in time after their pit stop, and they've lost a whole chunk of time, which means they're actually going to lose track position as well. Leaders have pit always, ladies and gentlemen.
It's going to be very close here between... Ladder's actually jumped Visma in the pit lane, and here it comes... Also, John Latham in the background. Oh! On pit, exit, Anthony Visma and Ladder side by side. I don't know how they're going to call that. That's going to be very interesting. And someone ran wide on the exit of turn one. I can't...
There's multiple cars.
There's another car off the track. It's nearly like there's oil on the road. Stuart Hall's off at turn one. So it's really turned on its head at the moment. Unfortunately, as we predicted, John Latham, he's down in position number 4 right now. But... man, very interesting pit exit there from Visma and Ladder. Looks like Ladder actually went around the outside of Visma in the pit lane. So we'll have to see what race control decide of that action before we go green flag racing once again.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one that's probably debated because we've seen the inability. Basically, the top few cars have been so close together in terms of pace that it's been difficult for them to see who actually got the lead here. And I can tell you that initially at the line, the pit exit cone, it was Visma who had the nose ahead, although he wasn't in the fast lane of the pits. And it would come down to whether or not that's a safe re-emergence back out and into the lane. And where was the car that they re-emerged from the trap with? Was the 88 machine as well. Where's the 88 machine fall in terms of things? Damien Cairns get escorted to the front end of the pack, although he then locked up into turn number 1. So there's a lot going on here. So that's Cairns on your left-hand side of your shot right there. He just locks up and goes straight on, probably trying to get in there hot. So there's two. So that initial one right there, Visma's ahead, but by the time they get to the blue cone here, it's the opposite way around. Ken Ladder actually does have the lead at that point in time. So race controls, I think, gonna have to look. I don't see any way that race control don't have to get involved. I think they will have to get involved there.
I think something will have to be done, and looks like it is Ken Ladder will be the race leader. So that's a very difficult call to make. Like you said, Scott, to the first cone, Visma was your leader, but then he wasn't technically in the fast lane. Ladder stayed in the fast lane and got to the exit line first, which, if you go off real life, that is your race leader. If whoever gets to that second line first. So
Yeah.
very tough call for race control to make. But I mean, there's still a long way to go in this race. There's going to be another 25, 26 laps for these guys to fight it out. So I don't think it's really the end of the world.
Yeah, so I'm going to... Hang on, race control's actually talking about it now. And they said, I believe their ruling was actually that Visma was ahead at the first line. And then they said the reason that he did yield was because you were down the inside. So, look, I don't care. At the end of the day, I don't care which line in the sand that they draw, and they say it's this line, it's that line. Don't care. Not interested in that whatsoever. But we need to know what that line is, and the line has to be consistent. I'll tell you what, Brady. I've driven in leagues where wherever you come out of your box, that's what it is. I've driven in leagues whereby wherever you cross that blue, the orange cone is the orange cone is where it's decided. And I've also driven in leagues where the blue cone decides it, and they all work. That's the end of the. And provided it's consistent, they all work. That's all that we're chasing.
I 100% agree, Scott, and I think most ones that I've raced in usually do go off the blue cone as well, and that's what it looks like that these guys have decided on. And like I mentioned, there's plenty of laps left in this race, and we'll touch on Michael Talliantage quickly. Started 33rd, he's up to 17th. A little bit of contact with Dan Hall earlier. Thought he might be in a little bit of trouble with that one. Nothing has come of that quite yet, so we'll see if race control could still be investigating that incident. We will have to keep you guys updated on that one, but certainly a big mover in this field, and certainly doing his championship chances no harm whatsoever. Good solid bank of points. I think he could probably get to the back of the top 10, and I think if this is your drop round, I don't really think that's too bad whatsoever.
Well, I was going to say, if I'm in Talliantage's shoes and he's going to get a penalty, fine, no problem. I would have wanted that penalty before this safety car comes out, because then the field condenses, you get to go back racing again. If he has to serve a penalty, if he does get handed a penalty, reminder, we have not seen the replay yet of that incident, serving it immediately following a safety car period, that is not the time you want to be serving that one, because the field is condensed, you lose more spots. It might be the same length of time to cover the time from end to end of the pit lane, but when the cars are more bunched up, more of them pass by in that same time frame. So, curious to see whether or not we do have a result on that one. Is there any chance, Dan, that you've got a replay queued up of the incident between Talliantage and everything that was going on at turn 1 slightly before that caution? Yeah, okay, yeah. So we're going to go and see if we can find what went on, because there was multiple cars that went off on that lap, multiple issues that we're having. So, get a Logitech G replay here in a moment. Brady, you've seen it.
It was a little bit of contact between Michael Talliantage and Dan Hall, who was down the inside of Talliantage. I'm trying to find it once again. It was lap 17 between Talliantage and Dan Hall, and looks like Talliantage comes across to the racing line and doesn't really realise that Dan was there. We will pick up on the Logitech G replay thanks to producer Dan Yeaman. We will pick it up, and it's a little bit of an awkward moment, Scott. Like I said, Talliantage goes back to the racing line, probably not realising Dan Hall was there, but I mean, that's a little bit careless in my opinion. You should probably know that a car is there, so that's why I touched on the fact that he could be in a little bit of trouble. Whether it's been picked up and noted by race control or not, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not really listening to them as much as you, but
I didn't hear that Dan Hall actually called it in, so I don't think it was actually raised. We've got a resolution on who our race leader is too, ladies and gentlemen. It is Anthony Visma, because he did hit the first cone, the pit exit cone first. So Visma does actually have the lead of the race. Safety car is in pit lane, and he's a mile out of the field and just goes straight away, because why not? He's got such a long period of time from him to the next car, so Ken Leiter's backed that group up a mile and a half. That's curious from Ken Latta.
Certainly interesting that they've given Visma the lead back. So after they gave Latta the race lead, now Visma is in the race lead, and we'll try and pick it up on a replay once we get through a few corners. But the safety car actually had a spin pulling away from the field, Scott. So I was laughing internally for a few seconds. We'll try and pick up a replay in a lap or so. But yeah, it's all happening here tonight at Coda.
Oh no, the safety car driver. Oh, he's just lost it. Cold Tyres. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the older legacy version of the Porsche Cup, Porsche 991, one of my favourite cars on iRacing. And the thing is, cold tyres in that car are an absolute nightmare to drive away from, and it's a long loaded section with a couple of bumps in it, so it is tricky, and it's on stone cold tyres. So shout out to the race controller that's had that done. That's about the third or fourth time it's actually happened this season across the 3 splits. So it's not the first time this season. And it proves yet again that we indeed are all human. Jesus! That's a car that's gone long and deep in there, Tim Nicol. He's raised a few questions actually at race controllers, Tim Nicol. He wasn't sure what was going on with the safety car procedure. He was told to get waved by the safety car, and then proceeded to sit there and wait, and lost a whole bunch of spots. So he was a little bit upset with a few things that went on, but it was actually his fault. We'll have to find out if there's any more action as a part of that one. But going back to the incident between Taliantich and Dan Paul as well, Brady, I'm going to go ahead and say that was completely and utterly in his blind spot, because you don't weave like that, and the thing that Taliantich would be listening for is the other car, and Dan Hall was such a mile away from him that he wouldn't have even been able to hear the other car. So it would have been a really, really difficult one to try and pick up, particularly in blinds. But you've got to expect that there's probably going to be a car there, but it's just a weird one. Both cars were in odd positions that they normally wouldn't be that far away from each other.
I do agree with you there, Scott, and looks like actually John Latham has had some issues. So we'll try and pick a slowdown penalty, we've been told. So unfortunately, no, it's actually contact with Scott Gamble. Contact with Scott Gamble at turn 1.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that there was actually some netcode involved in it, because Latham actually come on the radio and apologised straight away. He said there was a fair bit of netcode in that, man. I'm really sorry. So this is the run down to turn number 1. Latham will try and get down the inside. Gamble looking to cover him off. And there's contact to Gamble, and Latham immediately redresses. Immediately. And they both get on with their racing. That's why he's dropped all of those spots. And they both get away with it.
I'm having a quick look myself, Scott. It doesn't look like there's actually any netcode. There is fair bumper-to-bumper contact there. So okay. I think the right decision from at least John Latham's standpoint to readdress the position and not face any further penalties. But unfortunately, it's dropped Scott Gamble out of P number 3. P number 3, sorry. So now Damien Cairns for Type N Esports, he's now moved to position 3 after starting 11th. Very impressive effort. Scott Gamble now down to 4th, and John Latham, unfortunately the earlier race leader, decided that early pit stop, got caught up in some traffic. He's now down in 8th. So the 24 cars certainly have a little bit of a tough run in the second half of the race as we go on board. The 85 of Jeff Thomas, he's in behind the 543 of Scott Gamble, pressurising him for P number 4.
Yeah, I think this is one of the best runs that Jeff Thomas has actually had this season too, and it's really, really good to see JWM's Brewed Coffee livery doing a lot. Tell you what though, brewed coffee, I can deal with a brewed coffee right about now. It's been a long old week out here in the new place out in Griffith, ladies and gentlemen. And the energy levels start to die off, but not for these guys. It's working that wheel so hard. Look at the precision on the right-hand side. Look at him fight the wheel. Look how far he's going to turn that thing back to the left-hand side. And then the whole way out, he's just making the rear try and settle down. And they've got to do that for 48 laps, for 200 kilometres here tonight, Brady Baldwin. We've talked about the physicality of this series and what it takes out of the drivers. We've talked to a few of the drivers, and we've heard that it's a fatiguing series. But I think Jeff Thomas and the entire field have got their work cut out for them even more so tonight.
It's not one of the easiest tracks to get around. Circuit of the Americas and even the West layout as well. And 200 kilometres, 48 laps. Certainly a tough ask for these drivers, and these guys put on some long distance races nearly every week, even the 150-kilometer races that we've seen regularly in this series, they seem like even long races, really. So these guys are always working hard in these races, and John Latham just picked up a spot on Chad Vigor. He'll move to P number 7 as well. We just got that in the background.
Yeah, and now it's going to be Scott Gamble trying to chase down Damien Cairns. This is the best that the driver, the number 88, has looked so far this season. We saw him go deep into turn number 1 and nearly spin it under caution. He's managed to come up trumps and still managed to hang on to P3 after Latham and Gamble have come together. And that is the view ahead from John Latham at this point in time. Matt van der Crane will be his next victim. And the orange racecraft livery is starting to size him up. He'll get to the outside here. Is he going to look for the flick-flop? Yes, he is. He's going to look for the over-under. Gets the power down. Now he'll be on the outside for the triple right-hander. But it's going to be letting it happen there for Van der Crane. He'll accept it. And ladies and gentlemen, at the same time as that move was unfolding, race control came over and said drive-through penalty, car 21, Michael Taliancic, contact lap 17. He's going to trip through the lane.
I think that's not a surprise to me, at least, Scott, for that penalty for Michael Taliancic. I know you probably don't, it was a bit of a blind spot incident, but can use your relative as well to know a car that is in proximity of you, and probably a little bit careless and not really intentional there from Taliancic. Just an unfortunate incident that involved Dan Hall, and unfortunately it's going to put him back down the field. Some more hard work for him ahead. So certainly he's definitely going to be using this week as a drop round, and man, it's hopefully it doesn't change the championship too much. Not in his favour, but he's going to be right down the back now, P32 by the looks.
Well, put it this way, if this week becomes his drop round, and what happens is he effectively keeps his point total as it currently stands. So that's the incident and everything that was going on. Yeah, so Taliancic is right there. And race controller continuing to discuss with Tim Nicol the implications of the safety car procedure and what actually happened as a part of that one. And Tim Nicol actually went ahead and disconnected as a part of that one. So obviously felt his race was severely compromised. I'm pretty sure there's only one way that anyone can look at that. That is effectively his comment on the race. He said, yep, look, I don't think that's the way it worked out, and I'm going to take my ability to remove myself from the race. And drivers are allowed to do that, Brady, but that is, it's not well viewed upon from a sim racing world.
No, not ideally there, Scott, but it is what it is. We've got a good battle up front between Visma and Latta for the race lead. Remember, these guys were given first place by race control each, so they put Latta in the lead during that safety car period. Then they give Visma the lead once again. So I think a little bit of hot heads between both these guys at certain points during that safety car period. These guys will now go toe-to-toe for the race lead, and Damien Cairns, he's really under pressure for P3 as well with Scott Gamble in behind. So some good little battles happening here with 20 laps to go in this race.
That was really interesting to watch them through the cutout section, ladies and gentlemen, where they cut halfway section of the course. They don't go and do the eastern end of the Circuit of the Americas. That is the Formula One course. As Damien Cairns and Scott Gamble go head-to-head, and Scott Gamble puts bumper to Damien Cairns. He will immediately redress. Now it's going to be squabbling for positions left, right, and centre. Here comes Latham down the inside. Gamble in deep. Goes wide, looks for the switchback, drops back in, and Cairns loses a spot. Jeff Thomas into P number 3 for JWM. That is his best run of the season, and Cairns is still in with a shout. So is Gamble, so is Latham, and we've still got 19 laps left to run, ladies and gentlemen. Nearly 20 laps. My word, this is going to be a dogfight. Look at the queue of cars in behind them now too.
It's really a two-horse race up front. Visma and Latta, they have 10 seconds already on this battle pack, but from Jeff Thomas in third to even Jamie McKnight, Travis Hunt, 10th and 11th, there's only about 2.5, 3 seconds. So this, like you said, this is going to be an absolute dogfight to the end of the race. Matt van der Crane ran a little bit wide there at turn 1. We'll have to see. Damien Cairns is on the radio, but I don't think there'll be much to do with that, as Scott Gamble did slow down and readdress that position. But John Latham, that brings him back in, and like you touched on, Jeff Thomas in the 85, just waiting for opportunities to arise. He's now in P3.
I'll tell you what, Jamie McKnight, what a driver he's been on. He's been starting deep in the field, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm mute my microphone mid-broadcast. It's always handy. Jamie McKnight currently sitting in 10th place, up a whole host of positions. He's been running exceptionally well from the rear end of the field so far this season. But that is the biggest number on the board right there. He's up 150 starts since his first ever V8 race in the V8 Veterans. And that is a phenomenal statistic for Jimmy McKnight. That's what, if you're saying 40 races a season, you show up for every single one of them, Brady. That's still nearly 4 seasons worth of racing. That's three and a three-quarter years worth of racing here at the V8 Veterans.
Certainly a lot of laps under the belt of Jamie McKnight, and keep in mind as well, he builds the setups for this series as it is fixed setup. So Jamie McKnight's certainly doing a lot of laps in these cars, not just in V8 Veterans, but in other series across the service, as well as we will go back to live pictures. Congrats, Jamie, once again on his 150 race starts. But Ken Latta, his teammate, Synergy Sim Racing, will try and pressurise once again Anthony Visma for the race lead, who got really close there on the exit of turn 1. Unfortunately, he's dropped back just a few car lengths. It makes up a lot of ground through that middle section, Scott, so a little bit of an advantage to Latta in some areas of the track, and then Visma seems to have a few more strengths in the other parts of the track.
Yeah, such a technical circuit with so many different elements to it. I'm not surprised that is the case at all. And how bumpy is that little crossover section? We saw it a few laps ago. We're watching rearwards from Visma's rear wing, and our first two have just escorted themselves 9 seconds up the road from the competition. That's them in shot over there on the left-hand side, not even in the picture. Now, though, it is going to be John Latham that's got through on Cairns, and Cairns and Gamble are back together again, so this is brewing in the water. And all of a sudden, Jeff Thomas is starting to run away just a little bit from these guys. The rest of the battle pack starting to bottle up in behind these guys. It's getting tight, it's getting tricky, and Gamble's already made a mistake and made contact with one of them. So has Latham. So it's very, very easy, even for drivers of this standard, to make contact when battling hard. Such is the closeness of this series.
It's such an easy thing to do, just make a little mistake, pushing too hard, lock a brake, miss your markers. It's something that just happens in sim racing and real life racing. These guys are racing really hard and really fast, and a little bit of a lock up there from Jeff Thomas up in front in P number 3.
These guys half spin? It was a bunch of smoke.
It was a lot of smoke, maybe for a lock up.
It's a lapped car. It was a lapped car, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry to cut you off there, Brady Ball. I can say it's Dan Hall. Has just dropped in behind our leaders, so it's Dan Hall straightening himself back out, unfortunately. And, that's the leaders there just running away, and Latta's now all over that rear bumper of Anthony Visma, so he's closing in, and also Jeff Thomas starting to step away from that pack in the rear view mirror. So if these two start to get on with it just a little bit, not only is there going to be a lap car there for company, but they're going to have a hard-charging Jeff Thomas starting to come at them. And Thomas has actually taken about half a second out of these guys on this lap alone. So they are really starting to duke it out. It's getting close. It's getting tight. And still 17 laps or 16 and a bit laps left here to be the journey here, Brady. Those tyres, they've got to be screaming since our pit stops on lap 21.
They would be. And John Latham, remember, he was the one that pitted early, about lap 15 from memory. So he will certainly be really struggling on those tyres by race's end, and Latta and Visma will try and have to remember, if they start battling too hard, I think the guys, Jeff Thomas, John Latham, they will close the gap quite quickly. It might be more than a two-way fight by race end.
Yeah, and update on Michael Taliangic, sitting in P30 currently. He's just about to tag himself onto the rear end of the back cars at the pack, and watch the snake as it climbs up and over the crest of the hill. Look at them all coming down and through turn number 1. Look at how close so many cars are from P3, which is Jeff Thomas, all the way down to, what are we looking at? P10 is Jamie McKnight. Less than 5 seconds covers about 7-8 cars. So more than a car a second at that point in time. And there's a whole huge snake that's all in a part of this. Fewens is 16 seconds back off the lead of the race. It's about 8-9 seconds back from our leaders. So we've got more than 10 cars in less than 10 seconds.
Certainly a lot of action happening. We will go to the Zoom feed. Jason Fields, the 067. Big move down the inside there from Jason on Craig Friend. That was position number 14. He got the job done. Look at the intensity from Jason Fields, one of the SimSpeed crew, and he certainly put on a really good move there on Craig Friend. He'll move him up one spot, but like he touched on, Scott, there's a lot of stuff happening in this just behind the top 10 at the moment, so certainly a lot to play out in the final 15-16 laps of this race.
Yeah, a lot, and the critical thing that stands out to me, Brady Boardman, that's exactly what I do. You lean through the corners at all?
I certainly don't. I try and sap it directly as possible, otherwise I might fall out of my seam.
I throw my body weight in there. You've got to lean into the corners. Lean across the lean the bike up, turn it right in. Yeah, Fewens is aware. He was having a chuckle at something. Realised the word yeah, might have been on just then, I think. Oh, my word. This battle pack continues to just be helter-skelter. The top two edge clear now is Jeff Thomas and John Latham. Damien Cairns is now the cork in the bottle, with Scott Gamble still in behind him. And have a look at the battles further down in the chain as well. Gamble's finally gotten around Damien Cairns, and now he's going to try and get away. But have a look at those rear tyres. He's desperate to get on that power. He's desperate to get down after John Latham. And Latham skidded 2 seconds clear ahead of this pack, and now really harassing the rear bumper of Jeff Thomas. Can Thomas hang on? Isn't a matter of time, because here comes John Latham.
Latham trying to make up for the ground he lost earlier. A little bit of a rear bumper tap through that corner, and Latham's trying to get close enough to try and get a move done, but Jeff Thomas is just good enough in a few places on the track to keep himself safe from John Latham. But it looks like Latham in the 24 machine just has a little bit more pace overall at the moment. Where he gets it done, I'm not too sure. Maybe at turn 1 if he gets a really good run off turn number 17.
Jamie and Cairns has just come to the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. So lap times have actually fallen off from our fastest laps of the race by about over a second and a half. So that says to me, maybe we're not quite safe. Maybe Cairns has spotted something here, or this is a drive-through penalty, is my other concern, because with how tight... No, he's pulling into the pit bay. So it is indeed a tyre stop here for Damien Cairns. Gets himself out of the traffic, gets him free of everything that's going on. Maybe he can set some really quick lap times and grab some of those spots back on. If there is some more pitting to be done, well, Damien Cairns did have the shortest stop of a lot of drivers early on. So maybe if there's another safety car, he's actually in a really good spot. Michael Taliancic is further down, runs a little bit wide. That looks like a slowdown penalty being cleared if ever I've seen one.
Certainly looks like the case there, Scott. And Damien Cairns was on the jacks for a little while. You did touch on that he was a short field in the first stop. Taliancic, he's in the pits as well, and Cairns was on the jack for quite a while, suggesting to me that he was taking on a bit of field more than tyres. Taliancic, he's on the jacks a long time. I think his race might be done.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering whether or not he failed to serve the penalty in time from Taliancic's perspective. There is no black flag in iRacing, so he's down off the jacks, and there's nobody in the cockpit of the car. So Taliancic has gone for a mid-race loo break, shall we say? Nature called?
Quite possibly.
Was there an ice cream being offered through the window, you think?
Worst case scenario, he's had an issue maybe with his hand. I'm not too sure what has happened to Taliancic. Unfortunately, he's not in the car, so I think his race is effectively over. He's not going to make that lap back. We will go back to Visma and Ladder. Once again, these guys are still going at it. About 10.5 seconds clear of Jeff Thomas in P3, and Ladder's not letting Visma go whatsoever. I believe if one of these guys win, it will be the first win of the season, or has Visma won a race already?
Visma's been in the shot. He's qualified on pole quite a number of times, but I think Ladder's been on the podium a whole bunch of times. I can't tell you, to be honest with you, Brady. I don't recall speaking to race winner Visma at this point in time. Brenton O'Brien actually just had an incident out on circuit. I'm not 100% sure who it was with. He may need a... No, he is rolling again. And I tell you, Damien Cairns just had to take avoiding action. He's come up on him at a whole rate of knots. He's now avoided it. Matty Parker has received, I think, a drive-through black flag at this point in time, which means that's an incident point penalty as well. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my word! That was heavy contact with Darren Crosby. Very heavy contact with Darren Crosby.
Very awkward moment there between the 66 and the 26, and massive lose there for Brenton O'Brien. We'll back up a little bit, try and get some different angles of this incident. Crosby looks like he's got a really good run on the exit of 1. Guys go side by side through 2, and just a bit of awkward talking to that. I think O'Brien just loses control just slightly, and a big moment. It was lucky not to be worse off, so kudos to Brenton O'Brien to keep it as safe as possible and kept his foot on the brakes and didn't roll into the oncoming cars coming in behind him.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's actually given Matty Parker a drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits one too many times as part of the avoiding package, because I think he was the car that was immediately in behind the two guys that are going head-to-head. So Parker's through the lane. We'll serve that drive-through penalty, not issued by race control. And have a look at this one. John Latham's gotten through whilst we've been worrying about all that drama back down. He's got through to P3, and now here comes Gamble. And Thomas is getting harassed and harangued yet again. Here comes Gamble. Gamble wants through, and he wants through quickly so he can set off in pursuit of John Latham as these guys start to fall away further and further from the race lead. Gamble's there. He's going to look to the right. Now he'll look to the left. No, he'll try and line him up. It's going to be turn number 1. Chin Music. It starts to come in there underneath the rear wing. Here comes Gamble, and I think it's going to be Thomas, not long for P4. And with a nice exit there, you get the feeling turn 1 is going to be the point where he's going to send it. Not quite close enough at this point in time. Here he comes, out of the draft, looking for the rundown into turn number 1. Not quite close enough there from Gamble, but quite deep was the driver of the 85, but he'll hang on to the spot one more lap.
We touched on it just a few laps ago that Thomas seemed to just struggle a little bit overall compared to John Latham, and Latham has got that move done for P number 3, and looks like Gamble has some pace to burn as well. That last time by Gamble 6/10 faster than the 85 of Thomas, so Thomas just struggling just a little bit, and surprising to see the pace out of John Latham considering he's got the oldest tyres in the field other than Greg Sharp, who's running down the order in P number 18. So Latham doing very well on those older tyres. He pitted lap 15, so everyone else was about lap 20, 21 from memory. So certainly John Latham doing a very good job for P number 3 as Gamble pressuring Jeff Thomas once again, and Darren Crosby, he's been issued a drive-through penalty for that contact with Brenton O'Brien.
Yeah. So we knew that one was coming. It was just a matter of time. That has now been issued by race control. And we'll see if this continues to be an issue for Jamie McKnight as he tries to get down and by Chad Lewis, still crawling all over him. And there's another JWM car deep in the field here tonight, right towards the front end of things. Here comes Travis Hunt, Jamie McKnight, Chad Lewis. The battles are on up at the front end of town, inside the top 10. But it's been Battle Pack City all night here in Texas.
Inside the top 10, inside 10 laps to go for these drivers. And Jamie McKnight, he's pressuring Chad Lewis. We're on board with Travis Hunt. He's in the top 10. He's had a rough few weeks. I think Scotty's had a little bit of bad luck. And it's fantastic to see that he's put in a good performance, qualified P number 14, which is pretty good for his season so far, and currently in the top 10. So I certainly hope I haven't jinxed Travis whatsoever, but he's certainly done a really good job tonight. He's got Michael Stewart pressuring him in behind, and he's pressuring Jamie McKnight. So nice little battle pack here for him from 8th to about 11th with Michael Stewart tallying up this little battle pack.
Now, I've been practicing my commentator's curse lately, Brady, so I've been wanting to work on it. I know how fluent you are with the commentator's curse. I managed to pull it off last night in Formula E. No sooner had I said, oh gee, this driver's doing so well. Oh. Literally, the words out of my mouth last night, so.
It's unfortunately happened to me a few times in this series, so hopefully nothing happens, but McKnight, massive moment there for the 027 machine, really feeling the pressure from the 32 in front. He'll have a quick look down the inside before 17. Won't get anything there, but Travis Hunt, certainly the eyes, the intensity from Travis Hunt. He's really aiming to get that one extra spot into the top 10. McKnight covers to the inside. Now, dummies him. Hunt down the inside of Jeremy McKnight. This could be really tight on the exit of one. I think McKnight will hold out strong, but Hunt will try and go around the outside, won't do anything, and now he has to try and defend from Michael Stewart in behind.
Yeah, and it's Stuart Hall that's just in behind these guys. Will start to close in just a little bit more as well. And don't forget Jason Fewens and Craig Friend. They're just in this battle pack. What was 2 cars going toe-to-toe into turn 1 has now exploded into 6 as things start to come alive late on in the piece. But look at the drive off onto the back straight for Jamie McKnight. Much, much better there through the middle portion of the lap. And that's what's keeping him alive in this one. And Hunt's starting to look vulnerable to the rear end of Stewart. You saw Stewart get a wiggle on coming out of the last corner on the last lap. And that's why he fell a little bit off the rear end of these guys. Potentially could have had a crack at Travis Hunt, was that fraction closer. Tyres starting to wear, fuel coming out of these cars. That's something we've got to consider as well. They're going to get light in that rear end, and light, that means Dancy.
These cars will not be the easiest to drive, especially with the tyre life currently of these cars. And like he touched on, the fuel loads coming out, so rear end gets light. That's when they become hard to drive on old tyres, low fuel. That's when they become a problem, and these guys certainly experience it. We've seen McKnight have a few little moments in the rear end in the last lap or so. These guys keep battling. They're going to invite more cars on this battle. Hillel Cesar, he's our biggest move of the race. He's plus 13 at the rate. He's in P15. He's just in the background of shot there, so he's not really far off this pack, about 3.5 seconds. So Hillel Cesar, if these guys keep battling in front, he might even join the fight very soon.
Yeah, so Jeff Thomas, to give you an update, still defending from Scott Gamble. That move's still not resolved for Scott Gamble, so he is now starting to bid adieu to John Latham. But Latham's tyres starting to go off. He is starting to come back to them. It's nearly impossible to take your eyes off of these guys right here as they continue to fight it out.
You guys still going at it. Sorry to cut you off there, Scott. Yeah, Jeremy McKnight and Travis are still going at it, and so is Latta and Visma. They've really been half a second separated pretty much this whole stint since the safety car period. Right out to just over a second, goes down under a second, so looks like certainly Visma and Latta have their strengths and weaknesses around this circuit. This time by will be 7 laps remaining, so time running out for Ken Latta, try and get the move done, but these guys certainly been the class act so far tonight.
Yeah, completely and utterly controlled things front end of the field. And we'll see if this snake continues to get bigger, if it will suddenly blow up into something late on in the piece here as well, because here comes Gamble on Jeff Thomas. He's starting to get close once again on the run down into turn number 1. They look a lot closer on the track map, I tell you what. Every time I've looked down at it, just to see where are they, who's looking for spots. Keep your eyes on Matt Vanderkraan. He's having a really, really strong night here. Qualified in P4, his best qualifier, one of his best qualifying attempts of the season. Still sits just outside the top 5. He'll be looking to try and pick up just a few little bits and pieces if something goes by the wayside in these last few laps. And as things start to get dancy, mistakes are going to bring themselves in, and that mental fatigue. It's not physical fatigue around here, Brady, but that mind is going the whole race long. There is no break at the Circuit of the Americas.
There really isn't, Scott. You touched on it perfectly. He said it in the pre-race. The only real break you get is from the last corner to turn number 1 as Travis Hunt has a quick look down the inside of Jamie McKnight. That might invite Michael Stewart into the battle once again. Go back to the point you mentioned, Scott. There's really no break around the circuit. You're constantly elbows out on their circuit. You're constantly fighting the car, fighting for grip, fighting for traction around their circuit. You get one little break on the front straight and that's it. It's nearly like a roller coaster type effect.
Algarve coming, by the way, if the words roller coaster got you excited. That one's going to be on the iRacing calendar at some point in the near future. Just a matter of when it will be. And have a look at the wheel work from Travis Hunt. What a save mid-corner. That was nearly disaster. Yep, that's about the reaction you're ever going to see out of Travis Hunt. It's a little bit of a check-up, a little bit of a laugh. Oh, that was close, boys. Settle it back down. Get the grill back on. And start to go forward once again. Something's going on up at the front end of town. Is it Scott Gamble getting by Jeff Thomas? You bet your life it is. So Thomas finally will part ways with that P number 4 next to his name as Scott Gamble gets the move done. Can Matt Van der Crane now get through on him as well? Is this P5 in the offing for the driver of the 180?
This is important as well for Van der Crane Championship. He was P5 coming into this round. We will go to the Logitech G replay and pick up, I believe, yep, it is the move. Scott Gamble and Jeff Thomas, turn number 1. Pretty textbook turn 1 move. Bit of contact. So not really textbook. I called it too early. We'll have to see if anything does happen of that. I don't think there was. I think Gamble was far enough up turn number 1, but we'll have to see what race control decide to do there, Scott.
Yeah, that's going to need, I think that's going to need a few looks of how far in was he. Should he have been expected to be a little bit tighter into the apex of the corner? And who turned down on who is going to be the questions race control will be asking. Chad Viggers had a little bit of a lonely race in the second portion of this one. Just in behind these guys, just chilling out. He's nice and happy there. P7, can't complain about that one. And Chad Lewis, Chad 7 and 8 at this point in time. Just chilling out in behind. And now Jamie McKnight's actually starting to come back at these guys. Travis Hunt's dropped off the rear end of him. And here comes Michael Stewart, why don't you? He's looking for a top 10 finish here tonight. Down the inside on the run of turn number 1. And Stewart Hall, there we go from Travis Hunt. Those rear tyres, you saw him say, they were starting to get overheated. Michael Stewart gets the job done. Here comes Stewart Hall as well. So all of a sudden, Travis Hunt goes from inside the top 10 to just barely trying to hang on to the rear end of this car. And there's 5 laps to go. 5 laps left to go here, Brady. And this is game time. You want to hang on to the rear? It's right now when it's the hardest to do so. Few drivers have saved their tyres. They're looking to work their way through. And Jamie McKnight looks to be one of those drivers.
Travis Hunt struggling the last few laps with the rear end of his car. He unfortunately lost his spot in the top 10. Jamie McKnight, he's just going about his business in P number 9 at the moment. Him and Chad Lewis been pretty well stuck together throughout this whole race. And Chad Vigor just up ahead in the 016. 7, 8, and 9 on track. They've been pretty close, battled all throughout the race. And Matt Van der Crane, he's still pressurising Jeff Thomas here for P number 5. Hasn't quite got anything done. Bit of a wiggle there for the second last corner for Van der Crane. So it's only a lot of guys struggling for grip in the latter stages of this race.
Yeah, it's considered one of the harder tracks in terms of tyre wear. So I was expecting whether it was going to be understeer, whether it was going to be oversteer, and it's on power oversteer, on throttle wiggles from the bums of the V8 supercars. Still in touch, Matt Van der Crane looking to try and steal away Jeff Thomas's top 5. They've both had pace, they've both done really, really well. Qualified in P5 for Jeff Thomas, in P5, qualified P4 for Matt Van der Crane. Would love to finish in the top 5 for both of those guys. Such a huge opportunity when they don't come about all that often.
You certainly touched on that perfectly, Scott. You try and make the opportunities as best you can, take advantage when you can, and Matt Van der Crane trying to put the pressure on and still can't get anything done. Damien Cairns, remember, he took that second questionable pit stop. Not too sure if it was for fuel. He was under fuel, needed fuel to get home. For tyres, I'm not 100% sure. We'll try and maybe find out post-race what has happened there to the 88. Unfortunately, he's down in P23. He was in third for a little while there in this race, so unfortunately dropped down the order courtesy of that second stop. And he's had a massive moment. Big moment for Damien Cairns in the background, so I don't think the new tyres are helping him that much, and they certainly won't be helping now as we quickly crossed over to Dean Flavel on the heart rate monitor. But man, Damien Cairns, massive moment there. Now he's going to be pressured by Robert Gristis.
And remember, ladies and gents, he's got the freshest tyres of everyone in the field. So if he's struggling for rear end grip, everybody's struggling for rear end grip. It's just that other guys are hanging onto it a fair bit better than he is. So see it, Roy, I think he got spooked by the car rejoining from out in the weeds, and that car was Scott McHugh and the Hypersonic Racing entry. That's a long, long way off. And that's not the first time we've seen a car take it that deep into the escape road. down in the middle of the circuit at turn number 10. And we're back down towards our leaders. That's still Jeff Thomas, still hanging on to things over Van der Crane. And with 3 laps left to run, we're going to tick off to 2 here in a moment. Brady Baldwin. It's been another good trip from this series, another good international round. We've seen a mix of American and Australian circuits. I think has been the toast of the town this season.
I certainly have liked the races this season. They've turned on some really good action. I think that's more courtesy of the drivers as well. Even Winton last week, you can consider Winton somewhat of a bit of a boring track at times due to the lack of overtaking, but it certainly turned on some great action all throughout. We got a new winner in Dan Hall last week, so certainly even tracks are pretty hard to pass on, hard to get things done, and they've turned it on this season. So kudos to all the drivers here in Split 1 of the V8 Veterans for providing such good racing for us to broadcast every single week.
And a big shout out to all the sponsors that make it possible as well for the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans. Of course, for all your tyre needs, Kumho Tyres, they're our proud naming rights sponsor here for the V8 Veterans. Player One Sim Gear, they'll get you started in your sim racing career. If you're looking to get involved and you've enjoyed all the action you've seen on your screen, not just this week, but right up and down the season, Player One Sim Gear can get you sorted. Parramatta Isuzu, because if you're going to go trucking, you're going to go trucking in a great rig from Parramatta Isuzu Ute. And then don't forget as well, Logitech G Replay. Maybe you can pick it up from Player One Sim Gear, Logitech G. They are proud supporters of this series. You can pick up some of the best gear that you'll go sim racing with the new True Force setup from Logitech G. You know, I'm a big fan of Logitech. You always use Logitech headsets and mice, and it's good to see that when I go sim racing, I can go and do it with Logitech as well.
I think certainly a lot of guys start out in Logitech equipment. I know I did the G27 back in the day. As we will go to the race leader, Anthony Visma. He is now taking the white flag, so last lap for the race leader, the number 6 machine. Still got Ken Ladder in behind him, 9/10 of a second at the line, down to 7/10, so certainly not over by any means. Ken Ladder's going to push really hard throughout this final lap, and Visma cannot afford one small mistake because Ken Ladder is right there.
Yeah, and it's going to be mistakes potentially in the form of slowdown penalties. They will hurt you late on in this piece. The tyres are screaming. They're just about done. Is Anthony Visma going to get to burn the last of them off through the first sector, now into the bumps of the middle sector, on down to turn number 10. One of the last big overtaking opportunities. Ladder's too far back. At this point in time, Visma's just got to navigate the final few corners and he'll be coming home. It's difficult to get a move done from here. You can see there's some safety in this one. He's dropped multiple tenths this lap. He's just trying to park the bus and bring it home. Ken Ladder's run out of laps. He's thrown some aggression. And there's contact at turn 1 of the last lap, but hang on, because Ladder's starting to get close. Visma might have gone a touch too safe, and it's Dave Kirby that was on the radio for contact at turn number 1. 2 corners left to run now, and Ladder's a long, long way back. It's a short shoot out of the final corner. He closes it right in. Have a go. He'll try and dive it down the inside. There's 10 seconds to play with. There's the nose from Ladder. They will make contact, but it's going to be Anthony Visma, who is the man that wins it in Texas, and Kenny Ladder will come home second.
Very bold move there from Ladder on the final quarter. I'm glad he pulled out of the last second to avoid major contact. Anthony Visma's first win of the season too, so congrats to the number 6 driver. John Latham, really good recovery. He was down in 8th in the middle part of that race after leading early on and taking out pole position. He'll finish 3rd. Scotty Gamble recovered to 4th, and Jeff Thomas rounds out the top 5, so very impressive drive there.
Hang on.
From a few drivers. And
I was about to say, what happened to Matt Van der Crane? No, he did get home in P number 6. He just immediately pulled to the roadside and tied, so he must be running very, very light on in terms of fuel. Did manage to get home in P number 6 by the looks of things across the finish line to get that one. 7th is Vigor. 8th, Lewis McKnight will make it home in 9th. He was 7/10 of a second away from getting into that one, and Michael Stewart gets into the top 10. Travis Hunt not quite able to get down in there, and then we'll queue up a replay of what happened at turn number 1 on that last lap, because Kirby was not happy at all. Was really upset with what's going on down here. Is that Sharp? It looks like Sharp in the Penrite entry. They were bumping and grinding on the way in there. And Greg Sharp comes away with the position. I can see why he's a little bit frazzled. But I think that's going to be left alone. Or is there potentially a... Dave Kirby's apparently going to get this spot back later on in the piece. Very, very deep, very, very wide from Sharp there. And he'll land that one back over. I wonder, that nearly looks like a redress though, Brady.
I don't know. He looked like he was pretty locked up, so I think that was a mistake. But after saying that, I don't think anything will come from that now. Kirby's back in front and race done. So Dave Kirby P15, we will try and queue up the results in just a moment. Anthony Visma, first win of the season for the number 6 driver. He's had a lot of success in qualifying this season, hasn't quite pulled off that win until tonight. So congrats to him. And actually, this is what has happened to Ken Ladder. He's now 19th. Wow.
Ladder has picked up a 40-second post-race penalty for exceeding the incident points on the final lap. Whether or not that bump they had in the final corner put him over the marker.
Well, I'm having a look. Ken Ladder's only had 12 incidents for the race, and it's a 20 limit before you get a penalty. So, unless he got a slow down on the last lap.
That's why he stopped. That's why he stopped at the finish line.
That is huge. That's really changed the results. I had a quick look then. I thought the standings might have been wrong, but then I had a look in the server. Ken Ladder down in 19, so that's massive for the championship as well. So we'll continue on with the results. John Latham now promoted to P2 after all that. Scotty Gamble will be P3. Jeff Thomas and Matt Vanderkraan ran out the top 5. Some impressive drives for those drivers. Chad Vigor, Chad Lewis, the pair of Chads, 6th and 7th. Jamie McKnight, Michael Stewart, and Travis Hunt, after all that, gets rewarded with that top 10. 26 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, you'll take that one at the end of the race, no doubt. And Travis Hunt will come away with that one, so congratulations to him. Stuart Hall in P number 11. Jason Fewens gets up to P12 in the tail end of that race. Halil Cesar in one of his best races of the season, 13th. Dean Flavel, Dave Kirby, 14th and 15th. Greg Sharp will finish in behind Dave Kirby. Peter Vanderkraan is 17th. Craig Friend in 18th in his 50th V8 Veterans start. Kenneth Ladder in 19th after receiving that post-race penalty. Michael Quain round out your 20. Chris Miller.
Sorry, you guys got...
Chris Miller in the 666 entry in 21st. Damien Cairns, after a second pit stop, gets back to 22nd. Gets the spot away from Scott McCune late on in the piece. Robbie Griffiths in 24th. Rick Figure and Stephen Kennedy. Matty Parker after receiving that drive-through penalty early on. Brenton O'Brien, another recipient of contact in the race. And Darren Crosby got a penalty as well. Daniel Hall will finish off the lead lap. And over the page, we'll see Taliancic was out of the server. He was in 31st. Rod Hollis and Tim Nickel. Andrew Hoffman, after a blown engine from downshifting too early and throwing those pistons through the top end of that motor. Shane Evans and Michael Whiting was your pace car driver. So I'll make sure that I jump on Michael Whiting and let him know that one was not missed by any of us. David Coleman was there to assist with race control duties, and Greg Favell and Shane Patterson, the two non-starters from that race, ladies and gentlemen. That is your action here on a Thursday night from your Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans. It's time to join the interview room. At this point in time, I think Visma is still celebrating. Latham's finished in P2. Gamble will not even know that he's on the podium at this point in time. And we'll have a chat to John straight away. John Latham, you crossed the line third, then looked up, and all of a sudden it's been promoted to second. Mate, talk us through the night. Obviously, we saw the very, very early pit stop. Traffic was the big factor, as well as that untimely safety car for you after that pit stop. Was the plan always to go early, or was traffic getting to be an issue right there before you went to the lane?
Hey guys, yeah, I don't know what happened there, but yeah, happy to take that. And first of all, apologies to Scott. I don't know, I haven't looked at the replay yet, but I thought I was miles away and I just sent him bump off, so I waited for him and said sorry. Yeah, I hope there's no hard feelings there. And as far as the worst pit strategy call of the year, yeah, I had a pit window. I thought people might pit early, and I didn't want to kind of get hung out to dry like I have a few times. So I decided to pit early, and then, I mean, the traffic wasn't too bad. I came up on a few people that didn't have as much pace, but yeah, that safety car just put a nail in the coffin for that. So happy to come back. The set from Jamie was really good this week. I enjoy Coda. Great racing from everyone. Like I said, apologies to Scott. I really didn't mean that. And yeah, congrats to Anthony on his first win.
In terms of the season, obviously things have been coming together from sort of round 3, 4 onwards. Things have started to go your way. There's been pace in the Shadow Racing entry, and things are looking good at the tail end. Are you feeling like it's just time to sign off on this season? We might put a little bit more effort into next season, and we might be a little bit further forward, because I think the results have been there. It's just not the whole season has been there, and that's been the difference in the field.
Yeah, look, definitely with the caliber of drivers we're racing against in this series, it's really quite difficult nowadays to, or even just any time to rock up in this field and just expect to be able to do no practice and be on point. So I've been sick all week, so I managed to get a couple of practice nights in, and I was feeling good. I felt I had pace in the car this week, and yeah, it has been. I've been a little bit more consistent with the racing. I think overall probably just need more laps and more race laps, but overall pretty happy.
In terms of things, so obviously happy on the season as a whole. Are you enjoying the racing? It looks like it's been tight, it's been tricky, it's been technical. I think here tonight, if the pace, there needed to be a large pace disparity for the moves, obviously, to be gotten, because we just saw the difficulty in actually being able to get past Jeff Thomas. Like, I think that highlights things quite easily. The fact that he was able to not only just hold yourself up, but he then held up Scott Gamble as well. It was a very difficult circuit to actually go racing at.
Yeah, because I mean, when you come into the corners, you can have a little bit more pace into the corner, but you can generally, if you square the car up pretty good, you can get a good run down to where places people can pass you. So if you do that, it's a little bit hard to pass, and because I pitted so early as well, my tyres were just absolutely knackered. The more you try to squeeze the throttle on, the worse the tyres get. So yeah, it was pretty tricky there. Jeff drove really well. He defended very fairly and gave enough room, so that was good. Just caught me a little bit off. Same with Scott in the first turn. I must take a little bit different line into there, and they moved across, and I think that's what caught me off with Scott. And then I backed out of it, but I thought it was a massive netcode. I'm not sure what it was. But the same with Jeff. If you can't get a good run to that first corner, it's very hard to pass down there. And there's a few other places where you can set people up, like around the long sweeper. If you manage to kind of push them a bit wide and then cut back on them, you can get a good run then.
Thank you very much for your input throughout the season, John. It's been an awesome season with one round to go. Hopefully we'll see you again on the podium next week. Mate, who are the sponsors that make it possible for Shadow Racing?
Yeah, first up, I'd like to thank all the guys. I know Faz isn't racing, he's over actually in WA, so that'll be cool to catch up with him. We nearly caught him out the time difference. I'd like to thank John at Racecraft and all the boys there. They're always a great bunch. Whether you need little bits and pieces, they're always there to help you out. And just all you guys, all the admins behind the series, and all the competitors as well. It's really good to be able to have such good racing. It's really fun. I really enjoy it.
Mate, congratulations on tonight's second place result, and we'll see you again next week.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. And moving on to our third place finisher here tonight, we'll go a little bit in funny order here. It ends up being Scott Gamble. I think that surprised a few people because I did actually notice that Mr. Ladder was actually there to be interviewed here this week. So you were expecting obviously fourth, and then a little bit of a surprise when third place pops up against your name.
Yeah, I did actually. I thought it was fourth, and I was thinking, geez, this racing caper's hardly fair. But yeah, that's he must have gone over the incident limit on the last lap, which is a real shame.
No, it ended up being actually a slowdown out of the last corner. He tried to send it up the inside and at least, display that he was on for a race. But anyway, mate, it looked like it was tough to pass that there. We've just spoken to John, and he said, obviously, big apologies. Didn't mean to make contact with you in turn number one. The lines through turn number one. Talk us a little bit through that, because everyone's got a different way of attacking turn number one with just a unique layout that I don't think we see about anywhere else in racing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, everyone starts out to the right, and some people are using second gear through there or first. And I mean, I tried first, but I just found it a little bit too inconsistent. So I started using second gear through turn one. And, whichever way you go about it, you've always got to move across in that last half of the braking zone in that corner. And if someone's there and not up beside you, well, there's always going to be contact, So that's just the nature of that corner,
It's tough and technical racing. Obviously, that appeared to be the best of the overtaking spots there tonight. Were you surprised with the ability Jeff Thomas had to defend so well and hold you off for such an extended period of time?
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing. He was he was trying hard, and he was definitely getting the acceleration from the apex. And we were just slowed up a little bit. We couldn't get that run on him. But he drove really well, and in the end, I know we made contact up at turn one. He didn't report it, and we'll see what happens. But that's just in the end, I thought, well, we'll just go on for it. So see what happens.
In terms of things, it's obviously been a long season now. We're in the penultimate round. There is one more to go. Obviously, things have not gone your way in terms of this season. It's been long. It's been hard fought, and you throw it all the way back to those sort of first few rounds where it was yourself and McNamara that went head to head. Is it a little bit of a season of what could have been? Is there a little bit of regret there about perhaps maybe I could have lifted a few times throughout the season, still been here and with a hope of championship? How do you reflect on the season that's been?
Well, to win in the championship doesn't really mean much to me, mate. To be quite honest about it, it's I really enjoyed racing Sean, and I really enjoy racing Greg Favell. And I think when you're racing guys that that you do enjoy, you race your best. And I mean, championships are championships. It means more to others to me, and but it's always nice to get it and be there. But we had a few costly mistakes, and a couple of things didn't go our way. So that's the way it is. And it was a long season, and I got a little bit cooked halfway through it, to be quite honest, and a little bit rattled there for a while, and then just got myself back together and said, let's go out and enjoy it and not worry about it,
And then, what's the goal for next season? Is there a goal? Is it just, from what I've already heard, it just seems, man, let's just go racing each and every week. Let's reset, refresh. It's a new round. It's a new race. I'm just out here. I'm trying to do what I can. I'm going side by side with all of these guys. And I think that's what really, for me, has set Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans apart is that I think there's more people that are like, championship? What championship?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, next season, I always think is the strongest season for the year, being the winter season. I call them a winter season because it goes through winter. So,
those soccer players go back to playing soccer. That's why.
yeah, they do, and the footy's on. So, but I think it's just next season. My plan is maybe to start doing a bit more streaming, like I used to a few years back, and start showing it from a driver's perspective on track, and see how we go from there.
All right, mate. Well, congratulations here tonight. Best of luck with all the streaming, and obviously let us know who the sponsors are for Evolution Racing Team.
Yeah, big shout out to the guys at ERT. They're always keen to do the races and always, trying to pick you up when you're down a bit. And I really appreciate their patience and their effort with me. And Logitech G, as always, a sponsor of the series and sponsor at ERT, and we use their products and they're fantastic. So big shout out to them. shout out to the sponsors, Kumho Tyres, and Jamie's Isuzu Utes, and all the other sponsors that do the league. It's what makes it happen in the end. And to you guys for doing the broadcast, really appreciate it, and I look forward to watching it every week. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Scotty Gamble. He's going to finish in P number 3 here tonight in the 543 entry. Thanks, mate. We'll see you again next week.
Cheers. See you.
Finally, we're going to round it out with a guy who I'm feeling like has been sitting down there in our interview room, just celebrating like you would not believe. Driver of the number 6 for Taipan Esports, Anthony Visma finally cracks and gets that win. Breakthrough win here tonight, Circuit of the Americas, mate. That was a phenomenal drive. Difficult night, difficult to overtake, but it's you don't have to do overtaking when you're running out in front.
Yeah, at last, mate. Thank you. But it was a pretty good race. I had a pretty clear track and had Ken on me the majority of the race. And at the start, John Latham was actually driving away from me, and I thought, just try and look after the tyres, be smooth. I had Greg crew chiefing for me, so he was telling me exactly what to do. So used my head a bit for a change, and I got quite a surprise when John pitted early on lap 14. And then it was just me and Ken, and I just thought through about 3/4 of the way through the race, I thought, oh, Ken's just sitting here. He'll probably try and blow by me in the last few laps, so I tried to put in some faster laps just to see what he was doing, and I got a little bit of a gap, but I think I used my tyres up a bit, and before I knew it, he was on me, and then come to the last lap, I had about a second, but I sort of tightened up a bit, and it closed right down. And then coming to the last corner, I thought, oh, he's got to have a go. It's the last corner, last lap, and got together a little bit, but didn't really affect the outcome, and I couldn't be happier.
Mate, in terms of things, we did sort of get the sense that you went into park the bus mode. How were the nerves from the cockpit? Because we spoke to Dan Hall's first time winner last week, and when they don't come all that often, when you've been working towards something for a fair bit of time, there's 2 ways that you go. Either you're calm, you're cool, you're collected, and it's really, really easy. I know I'm the other sort. I am nervous as all hell. I'm looking in that rearview mirror all the time. I'm thinking I've missed every braking marker in the world. What was that last lap like?
Well, it's been pretty frustrating because I've had some pace for a while, but just couldn't get a result. And Greg was telling me to run to a lap time, which was good. It kept my mind off everything. And then, starting that last lap, I thought, oh my God, I'm winning this. I'm winning a Vets race. How cool is this? And then tightened up really bad, and Ken was closing me down all the time, and just managed to get across the line. So yeah, couldn't be happier.
Yeah, mate, it's that sinking feeling in the middle of the race. I've over-pushed the tyres, I've worked things too hard. No, it's just all a mental thing, isn't it? Just working through that. And particularly at a track like this, the mental load, we were talking about a lot in the commentary, because obviously we've got Bathurst on the calendar, but if you're an Aussie and you're not mentally comfortable around Bathurst, you're probably in the wrong game. But somewhere like Coda, it's an offhand track. You don't race it a whole bunch. It's not a track these cars are really designed to be going around. The technical sections, the bumps through that cutaway where you cut onto the back straight, it's got it all, and it is actually such a loaded circuit. Not necessarily on the car, but on the driver more so than anything else.
Well, it's really important to get out of those slow corners and onto the main straight. And it's very different to lead a race. I sort of have a habit of overdriving the car, and when you've got everyone chasing you down, it's so easy to get in too fast, miss your brake marker, overdrive it. So it's just a matter of trying to balance everything and stay within your limits, and I finally got to do that tonight.
Well, talk us a little bit through that. I just went through the circuit and I was like, you know what? V8 supercars, they don't like those slow acceleration zones from a very low speed with lots of torque behind them. I'm counting turn 1, I'm counting through the switchback that coming out of there, so there's a second one off of the end of the back straight. There's 3, there's another one the next corner, another one 2 corners later, and then out of the last corner. So we've got 6 a lap. There's 48 laps here tonight. There's 288 slow acceleration zones with bumps, with everything. And you've got to have finesse for such an extended period of time. How's the right foot? Because you've got to feel like you've got an egg underneath that foot for most of the race. And not only have you done that, you've done that consistently well. How does that make you feel as a driver when you come to what is the premiere in terms of technical racetracks? This has been a technique masterclass is not a full-on examination. Is probably the best way to put it.
Oh, look, I was hoping to try and get a podium sometime this season, but when Greg joined Taipan, it sort of changed my whole outlook to sim racing. I saw how he goes about his racing, commitment you have to get to the front, how he goes through his practice sessions, everything like that. If I'm having issues with a section of the track, I can just watch what he's doing, his lines, everything like that, and as a result of that, it sort of made me improve tenfold this season.
Mate, congratulations here tonight. Like this is one I'm pretty sure that is going to go in your bucket list. You're going to remember it for a very, very long time. So we'll let you start the celebrations. And who are the people you want to thank?
Obviously, I've thanked Greg. I'd like to thank you guys for a great broadcast. Thank Jamie for great setups every week. I'd like to thank the Taipan sponsors, Blacktown Mazda, Blacktown City, Too Easy Finance, Simrigs, Sideways Photography, GMK Logistics, Box and Lock Self Storage, and all the other Taipan guys that get in through the week and have a go.
Mate, congratulations. Go celebrate, go enjoy it, and have a very, very good night. We'll see you next week for the last round.
Thanks very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Visma, driver the number 6, gets his first series win here from the Coda West circuit. And Brady, I think that's it. He sounds exhausted. He sounds like he's been managing that right foot, the urge to get on the gas for far too long here tonight. I think he's about to go relax, celebrate, and enjoy things. And then that's what racing's all about.
Certainly is, and I think the drivers will need to relax because the season finale next week, it's going to be another long race. Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, 300 kilometers at Silverstone, 59 laps. That's nearly F1 Grand Prix distance in a V8 supercar, so certainly going to be a very difficult task for these drivers. Next week, the season finale for season 14 of the Kumho Tyres V8 Vets, 9th of March, Thursday, 8:40 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. It'll be our last call of the season, Scott. So certainly going to be a little bit bittersweet.
Yeah, bittersweet for us as the Kumho Tyres V8 veterans. We will come to you next week to crown ourselves the champion for season number 14. Will Taliancic manage to hang on to it with the one hand available to him? Will he manage to get that second hand up and be able to lift the cup? That's all to be decided next Thursday night. Another big shout out to all the sponsors that make it possible. We'll start off with the small ones. Logitech G, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Player One Sim Gear. All three of those guys, we cannot do this without the sponsors that make it possible. To the league admins, to everyone that tunes in every week, we say big shout out to you guys watching at home. We can't do this without you guys that tune in each and every week to support the series. To the league admins that do all the work behind the scenes. To Jamie McKnight celebrating 150 V8 veterans starts tonight in the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans season number 14. It's been a fantastic night at the office, ladies and gentlemen. But bye for now. We'll see you again next week as we look to crown season 14 champion.
iRacing is available now. Download your copy today.